The old boys of the team which Joe Mercer and Malcolm Allison built will celebrate the 50th anniversary of their own title triumph next week. But the surviving members of that great team, which went on to win the FA Cup, European Cup Winners' Cup and League Cup in the following 2 seasons, will be joined by relatives of those no longer with us to applaud the players out after the game. In a move which neatly spans the generations, current City Academy prospect Tommy Doyle, grandson of '68 stalwarts Mike Doyle and Glenn Pardoe, will be among them. Huddersfield are expected to form a guard of honour before the game, as have Swansea and West Ham in the last 2 games. Swansea formed a guard of honour for City after they clinched the title, and Huddersfield are expected to do the same. Getty Images Europe. The comparisons between the innovative Alisson and Guardiola's genius are irresistible, although 60s winger Mike Summerbee, now a club ambassador, shies away from comparing the players. But he feels that there is some of Alisson's legacy in much of what Guardiola does at City. Summerbee sees Guardiola and his players at work at close quarters and is a huge fan. Pep has a certain way, he said. I watch them train occasionally, and I think he has revolutionized football in this country. Crying Man City fan looks back at the darkest day in the club's history. He has a group of people who think and play that way. They all have great skills on the ball, first touches, and know what to do with the ball. They play in a small area where you have to think on your feet. They do that until they see a gap, and then it's like opening the lock on a safe. Every player is so skillful. In our day, you probably had 4 players who were really top-notch skillful players who could open the game up, but nowadays everyone from the goalkeeper to the fullbacks, to 2 wing halves, can all play, can all control and pass the ball. Like Pep Guardiola, Malcolm Allison was an innovator. He brought in athletics coaches to improve fitness. It's rare you see a misplaced pass. But conditions today suit the way it's played. You cannot compare the side I played in with the side playing now, it's impossible. You could put certain players in this era and they could play. You could put George Best in it, or Colin Bell, or Francis Lee. They could play that way as they had that first touch. But even in Guardiola's remarkable transformation of Raheem Sterling, there is a correlation with the way Alisson turned Summerbee into one of the most dangerous wide men in the country. Guardiola took Sterling, demoralized by Manuel Pellegrini's marginalization, and his traumas with England, and told him to do what he does best. Man City star Leroy Sane should study Arjen Robben to become a world great, that is, to run at defenders and cause problems. He promised Sterling he would get no criticism if he lost the ball while doing that. Summerbee had a similar experience with Alisson. At Swindon I played like an extra fullback, but in my first game for City against Middlesbrough I laid on the equaliser for Jimmy Murray to score. On the coach home Malcolm told me, "We've just spent £35,000 on you and we didn't buy a fullback, we bought a winger. Don't come back past the halfway line because you can't defend." He told me that beating my man and crossing it was all he wanted me to do. He put it into my brain. He had the same idea as Pep, that the best form of defense is attack. We had some good defenders, Tony Book, Alan Oakes, Glenn Pardoe until he broke his leg, and Mike Doyle, all top-flight players. City parade the league trophy in 1968. Manchester United those days were individually better than we were, but collectively, as a team, we were different class. We could just turn it on. Guardiola's other big triumph has been knitting his squad together into a close band of brothers. Summerbee pinpoints that as a major force behind City's 60s team. "We were a unit together," he said. "If there was a charity function, we'd all go. Everyone went everywhere together, including the married players. That's what it's about, not individuals." Franny Lee couldn't score goals and Colin Bell couldn't play well, without Oakes and Pardoe and the rest doing the work for them. It's the same now with Fernandinho. These players give others the opportunity to win the game for you. But these players all have the ability to do these things. In our side, if you couldn't pass the ball 25 yards, you gave the ball to someone who could. One game we played against Liverpool and Alec Lindsay was full back. Malcolm told me to take him on every time because it would draw Emlyn Hughes round the back. I knew I could beat Alec Lindsay standing on my head, but it would draw Hughes in and release Colin Bell to make a run. Pep is the same. He knows every single thing about the opposition and he implants that in the players' minds. He also plays with width. From the stand you can see Bernardo on one touchline and Sane on the other. They stay wide, with chalk on their boots. We were the same. Malcolm had the pitch made bigger at Main Road so we could play with 2 wingers. Summerbee and his pals produced the most successful spell in City's history until Sheikh Mansour's takeover, and the 75-year-old is predicting Guardiola will trump the lot. "I think you're looking at an era," he said. "He's created something that you know is long-standing. I think that they can go from here. They'll get even better. They've got a big chance of back-to-back titles. I'm getting old, but I hope to be around to see a few more trophies at this club.